All right, let's do it live on a Tuesday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Bo. He is the great Z. How about this weather? I mean, really, look at young Scarlett sneaking around.
This is incredible.
Doing his
weather.
works. I mean, this weather's unbelievable. I was playing hoops last night till like 9 o'clock with the boys. Getting some hoops in. Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's perfect weather for it. It's absolutely unbelievable. It's supposed to be a great week all the week through.
It looks beautiful. I think we're going to have a great game as well.
When?
For the game.
When are we going to have a great game?
The weather for the game is going to be a great.
Oh, the weather for the game.
Yeah,
The weather will be great. Yes. The weather should be great for Sunday as we forecast out to there. Low 80s is what it's looking like. We had a game last night, Monday Night Football. You had Philly and Falcons. The scores were not treated kindly to the end of that one, but it does put into conclusion 2 weeks of the NFL that have been quite honestly a little bit off across the board. Not just because the scores have been off, but just in general. Strange results, strange performances, like the leading passers in the league versus who you thought that they would be. Derek Carr, for example. Minshew is up there on those lists as well. Sam Darnold. It is an odd start to the year in the NFL.
Hold on. There is a stat that I saw.
I got it for you. 69 touchdown passes in the first two games. First 2 weeks, rather, in the NFL. In 2019 and 2020, it was 110. It was 105 in 2021. Last year, it was in the upper 80s. I want to say like 88, 89. Just 69 touchdown passes in the first 2 weeks of the season in the league. Buddy, there are only 5 300-yard passing games in the league through 2 weeks, a total of 5. The quarterbacks who have done so are 2 and 3 in regard to the results in those 5 games.
I know Stafford was one of them.
It was Stafford, Geno, Tua. There are 2 people who did it in a winning effort. Geno did it in a winning effort.
Geno and Tua.
Yeah, Geno, Tua, Stafford, Goff.
But I'm saying Geno won and
Tua won.
Those are the 2
trying
wins.
To think who the 5th one was. I had it written down, but there was only 5.
Yep.
There's only 7 quarterbacks in the league who are averaging 8 yards of completion, which is crazy. It's just –
It's not attractive football, by the way.
It's not. I think there are a bunch of factors that get you to this point. You've been around this sport on the NFL level a long time. What say you?
I think that offensive line play in general is worse than it ever has been. I think that it is difficult to get the ball down the field because of that. And so teams are – I mean, how many 2-yard passes do you see? There was one drive where the Eagles completed 3 consecutive passes and then still needed to tush-push on 4th down to get a first down. They completed 3 consecutive passes, like ball out, first read completions, and they totaled 9 yards.
Yep.
So I think part of it is fear about offensive line play. I think defensive lines are way ahead of offensive lines. I mean, we saw games in week 2. How many people had 3 sacks? I mean, there were multiple people that had 3 or more sacks again. Aiden Hutchinson had 4.5 in a game against Tampa.
Yeah.
So I think that's a part of it. I think the other part of it is, teams are basically playing with 6, 7 DBs. I mean, your linebackers of today are not the linebackers of even 5 years ago.
And certainly not 15.
Not even
those
the same,
big hulking guys.
Yes, not even the same stratosphere. So you've got people who are able to, cover tight ends, who can cover receivers. Sometimes you're seeing that. It's linebackers on receivers. And in the olden days, or a running back on a receiver on a wheel route, that was a layup. That's an automatic. And now it's not. So I think those are the factors that go into it. I don't believe that you can even begin. There aren't any rules they can change. No.
You know what the answer to this is. It's what's happening. Run the ball.
Well, that's the way to get out of it.
That's the way to get them out of it, is to bludgeon them with the run and run it 40 times. And there were a lot of people that did this, that ran it with great effectiveness. It's not as aesthetically pleasing as a sport's been over the last decade, but that's what's happened. And you're exactly right. It's defensive lines, it's linebackers, it's playing in nickel 70% of the time, and now you just bludgeon those undersized linebackers, which are now the regular-sized linebackers. I do think not playing in the preseason is part of it.
I think that's part of the slow stop. But I mean, we go back. You mentioned 2021. That was the
19 and 20 right in there, yeah.
And 21 was still over 100 touchdowns, I think you said.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was the Bengals-Rams, right? And
yes.
The Rams didn't play anybody in the preseason. I mean, I just think
they were the outlier, though, and I do think when we went from 4 preseason games to 3,
that
you've
changed
seen
it.
a shift in it. Just take a look at Bryce Young, for example. He had one series in the preseason, and they benched him. With a new offense and a new coordinator, you don't think he needed to play ball a little bit? You don't think Caleb Williams needed to play a little bit of ball a little bit? You mentioned the Penix thing. Like, Derek Carr played in 2 preseason games. C.J. Stroud played in 2 preseason games. Like, play football a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? A little bit of football doesn't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it.
Another thing I'd say is I think the league has become so, and rightfully so turnover averse that quarterbacks don't make a lot of throws that they maybe would have made 5 years ago. I think 5 years ago it was acceptable to be kind of 2-to-1 touchdown to interception. That was good. And now everybody wants to be, 30 touchdowns, 6 picks.
Right. I think that's fair too. Risk-adverse offense, which goes back to it's also the Mahomes effect with the safeties playing so deep. And this is what got Mahomes for a little bit, and he's still not what he was a couple of years ago in this sense offensively, statistically. Anyway,
my goodness. Yeah,
because what they're doing is they're saying, we're not letting you beat us deep. So you can throw underneath all you want, and we're going to come up and tackle, and we'll take death by 1,000 cuts over bombs over Baghdad. And that is the other part of it is those deep shots just aren't there the way that they used to. They aren't.
No.
And so you have to be patient. You have to take the underneath stuff. And a lot of quarterbacks don't have the patience for that because you want to stretch the field. It's what you're used to doing.
Yes. And when you have those deep shots, maybe because you're not throwing them nearly as much, and that's something we could certainly look into, but it feels like quarterbacks are missing them more often than they used to as well. We are seeing opportunities for plays down the field that also are not happening, and I think that is one of the things that's, it all kind of adds up to what has been somewhat fairly lackluster offensive performance. The only team that has not been lackluster on offense this year is the New Orleans Saints. They have scored points on every drive that Derek Carr has been on the field. That's crazy. 19 drives, they've scored points on all 19 of them that he has been on the field.
And nobody saw this coming with them.
No.
Nobody.
Come on.
Like I did mention, he is one of the guys who did play in 2 preseason games. Not to say that's absolutely why that is, but they're sharp.
Yes.
They're very sharp coming out of the gates. All right. We talked after our game about Jacksonville and the fact that Trevor Lawrence had lost now 7 games in a row for somebody that talented. What can be said of the Eagles? They were 11-1 a year ago, 10-1, 11-1. What have they been since?
Not good.
Not that.
They won 1 game down the stretch. They lost the playoffs, and then they won 1 game. They won week 1 this year. So they're like 2. I bet they're 2-7, 2-8 in their last 10.
Yeah,
somewhere in there. Could even be worse than that, honestly.
Yeah,
but I think it's something like that.
Yeah, they're at home. You got it. By the short here in the fourth quarter, you've got it, and you blew it, boy. You just blew it.
So I thought
you watched more of it than I did. I was
watched
playing
the whole
some
thing.
hoops, and so I wasn't as into it as. No, I watched plenty, probably most of the second quarter into the third, and then I was done, passed out.
I watched the entire fourth quarter, and the fourth quarter of the Manicast was superb with Matt Ryan on there. When it's 3 quarterbacks talking ball, I think it's so good. Matt Ryan also had some ideas that they were like, "What?" too. Peyton's disgust with certain things that happened was so fun to watch. But he ultimately, they didn't mind it. Matt Ryan even said, I'd go back to that, that sprint rollout that they got almost a touchdown on to Saquon. And it was a perfect play call, perfect pass, and he just dropped it.
Just dropped it.
I mean, at some point, execution matters. And now people would say, well, why would you do that? Because all you needed to do was just take a knee even, and the clock, you're playing the clock, not the opponent. Well, let me tell you, Kirk Cousins went down the field really quickly, and they scored almost as though they were playing on air.
Manning was pissed off, in fact, saying, too soon, to take your time, burn some clock
he was like,
here.
burn some clock.
He was upset that the receiver went out of bounds instead of staying in bounds. He hates bad ball.
I don't know that he was necessarily right, and Eli even pushed back on him a little bit. Eli's like,
hey, you got to score.
You still got to score.
Right,
like,
right.
It's nice
I think
to
he
be
views
that
it
good.
through his prism, which is if I have to get a touchdown in 4 downs with Reggie Wayne, I'm going to. It's just a matter of do I do it now or on 3rd down.
Right. And I did not feel that way about the Falcons. Right
I did
there.
not
just,
either.
Like, if you could score. And they did, that was a very, very fun game. But that comes down to, again, simple execution. And the Eagles did not do it in a critical moment. And Saquon had been brilliant. I thought he'd had a very good game. And then he has a drop when in the most inopportune time. I mean, there's really not a whole lot more to say about it. They should have won that game. Then to just let Atlanta walk down the field was wild. I thought Kirk Cousins looked the Steelers got very lucky that they caught them in that first game. I think Kirk Cousins looked much better this week than he did in week 1.
So obviously he had a very good drive at the end. But I was noticing while I was watching in the second and third, like he didn't seem still wanting to drive off of.
He doesn't have
his base did not. He did not seem like he was willing to throw it all in and really.
He had a couple
good
ones down the field to Mooney and to London, but for the most part, yeah, they were running with Bijan, who was running very well, or Algier, or it was short, quick passes.
Yeah,
he throws the ball to Ray McLeod a ton, which is wild.
It's crazy.
Pitts gets no targets. Pitts gets nothing.
And all I heard coming out of Falcons camp was Pitts. That's all he throws to his Pitts, and it's been none of that.
None of that.
Gibby saying that the Eagles lost 5 out of the last 6 last season, so they are in fact 2-7.
That's what. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had that. So 2-7 in their last 9, which isn't great for them. And so you're left, and I know we're gonna do some rankings. Is that for today's show, Gibby, where we're doing our rankings?
Yeah, we had homework.
A little of our homework assignment?
Absolutely.
All right, so we're going to rank our top 1 through 10, and it's going to be a very different-looking list based on what's happened through 2 weeks.
I kind of did it thinking you have to acknowledge what we have seen, but then also still what I kind of believe.
I went much more what we've seen, not what I believe.
Okay. I think mine is. I think you'll say my list is that as well.
So that's more
the way
so.
I'd say it's probably like 70%. What I've seen and 30% what I believe.
Yeah, I don't know in the NFC. I'm not sure. I don't know. I
still think.
I don't know. Obviously, the Niners. You feel, but that's a pretty stupefying loss to lose at Minnesota when they're relatively healthy. No McCaffrey, but like that wasn't a problem. And Minnesota took it to them for the majority of that game.
Yeah.
And I know the one thought around the league, but in terms of the NFC East, I mean Dallas and Philly, week 2, both. Not looking great. Losing at home, both of them. And the other 2 are just bad. Washington could be frisky, but
the strange thing about Dallas is that they do this every year.
Yeah.
If they end up being good, and this was kind of the one anomaly, just awful loss, they do this every year. Remember last year they went into Arizona and got smoked by Dobbs and the car. I mean, smoked.
I do, yeah. Not usually at home.
Not usually at home, no.
Usually Jera makes sure that they're of.
They were apparently not.
Best.
They were not at their best.
Yeah. The NFC South with Atlanta winning and getting to 1-1 and the other 2-2-0 teams, the Saints and the Bucks in there as well. The Bucks probably have the most impressive win of the season going to Detroit, one of the more impressive wins anyway.
Yeah.
Going to Detroit as huge dogs. I think it was 7.5 in that game, and they won.
Yeah, 7.5. That's why we thought it had to be.
Had to be. Yeah, had to be.
And do you know that the Lions outgained them 2-1 in that game? 2 yards to every yard gained by the Bucks was gained by the Lions.
That's crazy.
And lost.
What do you make of Jared Goff throwing 55 passes in week 2?
It feels like a bit.
It's a lot, right?
As my buddy Gary Novotny would say, it's a bit much.
It's a bit much, yeah.
It does feels like a bit much. Yes, I would agree with that. So what do I make of it? I would consider it to be quite surprising, to be honest with you.
Because that's not the way they're built.
No. I mean, I'd have to go fully into the box score to see what they gave
35, he was
Gibbs.
He was 34 of 55. Gibbs had 13 for 84, 6.5 a carry.
Yep.
Montgomery was 11 for 35. They ran it for 5 yards a clip in the game.
I think they were just possessing the ball, and
they threw it to Amon-Ra St. Brown 19 times. He had 11. He caught through 19 passes his way, 11 to Jamison Williams. Jamison Williams does not have a great catch ratio versus target.
No.
It just as in his professional career, 11 targets, 5 receptions.
Yeah,
for him in the game.
7
and
yards
Goff was not clean either. He was not what you're used to from him. He was not particularly good. He had Jahmyr Gibbs on what should have been a walk-in touchdown and one-hopped it to him.
That's what you said.
Meantime, Bake 12 of 19 in that game for 185, which is like a normal quarterback number.
Here's the thing: they ran. I mean, Bake fumbled twice, threw a pick. They didn't lose either of the fumbles, which was fortunate. But he 19, just do pass attempts, add pass attempts, sacks, and rushes together. So they had 19 pass attempts, 23 rush attempts, so that's 42, and 5 sacks, so 47. Detroit's got 56 and 27, so that's 80. I mean, they just had the ball so much more.
Correct.
They could have run it a little bit more for sure, but I think they ran significantly more plays.
The Goff interceptions were brutal for them.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of part of it. So I don't know. We'll see. Have you heard this? All right, so you got one thought. You got Coach Stefanski coming up. We did our top 10 list, so we have that's still ahead as well. We'll do a little higher, lower as well today over the course of the program here on a Tuesday. Have you heard? Have your kids dropped this on you? Crash out. Have you heard this?
No.
You heard this? Look at G knows. The G man knows.
No idea.
So NBC is hitting me with crash out now.
Okay, what does it mean?
So here's how it goes in the context of a sentence.
Okay.
Hey, Paige, will you take your dishes to the dishwasher? Yeah, dude, don't crash out. No, I'm not crashing out. I just would like you to take your dishes to the dishwasher.
Crashing out.
I get it. I get it, Dad. Just don't crash out. I'm not crashing out. I just would like you to take your dishes. I know you're crashing out.
You want to see?
You're making me crash out.
You want to see what crashing out looks like? You'll go see it inside your room.
You're about ready to see a crash out. That's where we're headed.
Yeah.
That's where we're headed on things, is towards a crash out. So I'm getting crash out. It's amazing the things. He's also like, if you suck at something, you're queso. Have you heard this? This is it? Like queso?
I thought it was dog water.
No, that was last year. Now it's queso.
By the way, queso's significantly
That's what I said.
better.
I said queso's great.
Yeah.
I love queso. Not as much as I love a guac or a salsa verde, but I like it.
But if you get a little
salsa roja,
mix that up, a little queso,
right?
A little beef in there.
That's what I'm saying. Put a
you
little beef.
You got a nice dip.
In.
You got yourself a nice dip.
Some nice chorizo.
I have to. The phrasing is coming so fast and so furious with the words that he brings home. The one I do like the most is mid.
Mid was good.
Mid's good, and I use mid. I'll use it a lot. I think it's actually better. To me, I've used it to replace fine, because you'll hear people say, "How was your meal?" "Oh, it's fine," and it's viewed negatively. But that's not what it should mean. Fine should mean excellent. Fine dining. It should mean fine means excellent, not average.
No, it means
mid is average.
Mid is average. So crash out has multiple meanings. To go to sleep, to fall asleep quickly due to tiredness. For example, I just want to go home and crash out. Makes sense.
Yep.
To spend the night, stay overnight. We're crashed out at John's place. Makes sense. To pass out, to lose consciousness, to crash out. To be eliminated from a competition, to lose in a sports competition in a way that is embarrassing or disgraceful. He crashed out of the French Open in the second round. But it doesn't. I don't see anywhere
they use
where
it
it means like you're getting all
rage.
upset.
Yeah, they're using it like rage, like when you're raging, that you've crashed out.
Well, to crash out means to commit. Here's another one. Means to commit an act of violence due to rage and a lack of logic.
There you go. That's what he's going for. G-Man knows it. You've heard crash out. Yeah, he's got it. He's on it. Yeah, they're talking. This is their thing.
You guys lost
crash
me.
Out. Crash out.
It's absurd.
Kev, do you have kids?
I have a 1-year-old at home.
Oh, you got a long ways to wait.
Yeah, I got a long time.
You're in precious stage.
Yes.
They're going to suck soon enough.
What about all they got to do is it's just so much more effective to be like, yeah, I got it, Dad. Just chill out.
Well, of course that would be more effective, but he's a
no.
12-year-old boy.
I don't like-
relax.
like
12-year-old boys don't do that.
When my kid tells me to chill out over something
Of course,
simple,
they shouldn't say anything. You said go do this.
Just do
the
it.
dishes.
Right. Just do it.
It's actually
Get the papers,
reversing
get the papers.
chill out. The chill out is escalating
Oh,
into
yeah, it's a
something more when
huge
you tell me to
escalation.
chill
Then
out.
it gets bad when it goes that way.
I'm fine. I'm about to not be fine if you keep telling me to chill out.
I felt like
that's right.
The episode of Seinfeld where Elaine draws the furrowed brow on Uncle Leo when he goes with Dr. Van Nostrand because she's a bad patient and all that. That's what I feel like. I'm like, I actually was fine until this all started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was fine until you said don't crash out. Up until that point, fine.
And now look what you've done.
I am crashing out.
Look what you've done.
If you'd like to know. That's where we're at.
You're going to crash right out of this window, my friend.
You are. The Chief, not ruled out yet. Kevin Stefanski saying yesterday that both Jed Wills and Jack Conklin are close, as the Browns are off today, back in the building tomorrow, start preparation for the Giants. What will you be looking for that would lead you to believe what is the latest one of those two can be a full go in practice that would lead you to believe they could play on Sunday?
Friday.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they need to necessarily be a full go in practice. I think this was maybe kind of the target all along. And here we go. I don't know. I really think
be nice to get 2 starters back, and Dewan can go back to being the left guard, backup left guard, right guard.
Dewan Jones
is the swing guard now.
Yeah, he's
Poor Hoff.
Even
the Hoff got undid by it.
Yeah.
Dewan's not going anywhere, kids.
I don't believe so. I don't want him to.
Why would they? He's very good.
He's very good.
Yeah, he's very good. Feels like the franchise right tackle. So those 2 guys both getting back. Those would be your noteworthy injury designations here on a Tuesday. And those are your hot topics of the day. Hot topics of the day presented by University Hospitals, official healthcare partner of your Cleveland Browns. Leaf Filters, official gutter guard of your Cleveland Browns. Go to leaffilter.com/GoBrowns to schedule your free gutter inspection and to receive your exclusive promotional offer. That is leaffilter.com/GoBrowns. Visit today.
Let me know if this is good.
Go.
In terms of pass blocking efficiency, this is from Pro Football Focus, amongst all of the tackles who have played at least 80% of their team's snaps this year. So that's 30. That's only 38. That can't possibly be right. Maybe it is only 38. Dewan Jones has the 7th best pass blocking efficiency in the league.
Yeah, that would be good. I think you'd take that. Of all the tackles.
Doesn't sound like a swing tackle.
No.
Or a third tackle.
Oh, this is.
Yes, look at
this. I'll tell you what this looks like. This looks like we're in Maine.
By the way, that's only like a 6.1 on the hamstring.
Oh yeah. That's a 6'1" hammy.
6'1" on
hammy painting. But the other thing, that is a very LL Bean. I'm sure it's an upscale
beautiful
version of that.
Spiders.
But I could see him being out among maybe a bonfire, a clam bake in that outfit. That's what that looks like to me.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that he's got some sort of a pea coat as an accoutrement.
By the way,
with a scarf,
and
a leather driving glove.
He tasked me with something, and then I'm gonna extend the tasking to you as well.
Go.
Top 5. He wants to know our top 5 albums of all time.
What is it? June? I mean, I can do an hour on top 5 albums of all time.
Yeah,
Here's the thing about that. Like, your kids and my kids don't know what an album is.
No.
And will never know what an album is.
No, they will not.
Boy, I almost would need that broken down by genre.
Well, because
I don't know how you could just do it. Like, how are you going to compare, like, The Chronic with Appetite for Destruction? Like, how both impacted me greatly.
That has to be on there.
Yeah. How do you compare? I mean, look at him. He's an enigma.
It's very baggy, though. It's a very baggy pants.
Oh, no.
It's a little baggy.
It's not. That's plenty.
It's a 6'1".
You're safe.
It's a 6'1". Come on. That's not getting anybody going there.
All right. I'll get you your 5 albums. We'll work on that for Senior Swag. In addition to that, coming up next, Kevin Stefanski meeting with the media. You have that to look forward to, which is nice. One thought around the NFL coming up after that. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. For a team of injury lawyers dedicated to every client every day, call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Elk & Elk is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Now we hit from the podium, presented by Vivid Seats. Purchase your official fan experience packages today for the ultimate game day. Here is Coach at the podium.
All right, injury.
You're down 5 minutes.
Like I told you guys, has a hip injury that will require surgery. So disappointed for David. I will tell you, I gave him a game ball, 9 plays. He had 3 catches. So disappointed for him, a guy that his teammates really appreciate how that kid works, and then he'll bounce back. Pierre Strong has a hamstring injury. I'd say that's week to week. And then Obo is cleared from the concussion protocol. Like we talked last night, wasn't perfect, wasn't always pretty, but it was gritty. And I thought the guys, found a way there, and it's certainly a learning experience. I think win, lose, or draw, you got to learn from these things. With that, I'll take any questions.
Hey, Kevin, I know you want your starting quarterback to always start well. What did you like about the way Deshaun opened up yesterday?
I thought offensively, Tom, and Deshaun obviously in particular, we played clean. We played on time, and I thought he spread the ball around, was very good in his reads really throughout the day, but kind of took what was there. If number 1 wasn't there, moved on to number 2 and played really clean.
Along those lines, he's always had to carry the load, regardless of where he is or was. Now that he's in the second year with you guys, does he seem to have a better grasp on he doesn't have to be the hero every time, that he has to, make good, smart plays, as you just referenced?
I think Deshaun understands how to win, first and foremost. And I think he understands that he'll do whatever it takes to win. I think he's like a lot of the great quarterbacks out there. They're prepared to do whatever it takes to find a way to win.
Denzel Ward, I think he had just 11 snaps on Sunday. Just what's the plan with him, and how is he physically?
Each injury is different. We'll continue to work with every guy and rehab, and I think injuries get better with rest and with time, and I think this is no different.
Kevin, I know last week you guys had more penalties than you wanted, and then kind of replicated that again in week 2. With that being a point of emphasis, I'm sure, for you guys this week, how do you coach up those penalties, especially those illegal shifts and some of those offensive holdings that took you guys back behind the 6 more than you'd like?
Yeah, really disappointed there, Cam. We need to be better in that area. It's hard to win. We don't need to make it harder on ourselves. And we did in a bunch of areas. So we can just identify and correct. We'll keep hammering it. But until we do it, we're just going to make life hard. And we don't want to do that.
Is there anything that's ongoing from having to learn from this new point of emphasis with those, maybe the shifts? I know there's illegal formations were a little bit more frequent last week, but is there anything that's carried over that you're still trying to work through?
Not really. We know the rules. An illegal shift wiped out a touchdown for them as well. And so it's so important to be about our business. And the more pre-snap motion and shifts and type of things that you do, you really have to be on top of it. So it's a point of emphasis for us.
Yeah, Kevin, you just touched about it a little bit, but is there a silver lining? I know you want to play clean, but to come out of a game and get a win when you had so many self-inflicted wounds, beside the penalties, drop passes, plays that, are correctable and still get a win?
Well, I think like we talked about yesterday, Fred, winning is hard in the National Football League. So going on the road, playing a good team, obviously accomplished our goal this last week, yesterday. But we have to do that again this week against another good team. So the focus becomes making sure that you don't beat yourself, because again, it's hard to get a win in this league.
Kevin, on Jack Conklin and Jed Wills, do you expect that maybe one or both of them could be ready to play this week?
Yeah, potentially.
Hey, Coach, I just wanted to ask, with Jack Conklin, how close was he to playing Sunday? And just kind of, was there any thought at all on whether he had a chance to play?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, he's continuing to get close. We just need to make a decision, really, as you get through a week, get in the weekend and decide what's best for the team. But he's getting close.
Yeah, Kevin, it felt like you went back to your bread and butter yesterday with the run game. Dante Foreman early, Jerome Ford. Was that by design or product of game flow? And just how do you think that whole thing responded?
Yeah, I think we had some good moments, obviously in the run game, some good moments in the pass game, but we definitely have to play cleaner. I will tell you, we were better on first and second down, which is a very, very big part of having any production on offense. So we were better, but there's still we feel like there's still things that we can do better, certainly when it comes to the run game. Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go, Coach, from the podium. Austin, with this is the exact way that I would use crash out in sports. Jamar Chase crashed out during the game on Sunday, and it resulted in a 15-yard penalty. Well said out of Austin.
Yeah, he did crash out there.
It is. It's kind of nice.
I mean,
I don't hate it.
It's more, to me, crashed and burned. Then that goes back to the
we're old.
The 80s at
yeah,
least.
we're old. You could come up with the coolest thing ever to say, and you pitch it to him, and he'd be like, that sucks.
It's mid.
Yeah, it's mid, Dad. Please. Don't you wish you had my aura? That's what I got last weekend. Don't you wish you had my aura?
You know what I would tell him? I'd say, I hope that your life.
He always does it with like a smirk, like he always knows that he's full of it.
Yeah.
When he comes to me.
I hope that life works out so well for you, NBC, that you can have the aura of your father.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. You should be so lucky.
Should be so lucky.
Should be so lucky. One thought from every NFL game, a wild week, too. We'll get to it all coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, sports betting partner. Your Cleveland Browns, now live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Boost your game day this season with the Ballybet Sportsbook app. Place your first bet of $50 or more to get $150 back in bonus bets. Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Time for One Thought around the NFL Week 2. Hello, Gibby.
Gentlemen, happy Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday.
It is. The weather, beautiful. Couldn't be better. Life is good.
Just got an update from my wife, NBC, who has a game tonight, apparently crashed out on a field trip and now has a hurt ankle. Not the crash out of the one where, like, there's physical, he fell. Not the crash. Maybe, I don't know, might be a different use.
I think he just crashed.
Maybe he just crashed.
I think he crashed
Could have
out.
been that. Could have been that. So now he's got a game tonight.
Screw it up on a
They had
field
some
trip?
field trip because it's like Explorer Day, some nonsense. So they went to like the park for the day with a bunch of 7th graders, and the idiots were playing football. I told my wife, I'm like, it's failing an intelligence test is all it is. You got a game today, dog. Come on. What are we doing?
How about you just
She's
chill
like,
out?
it hurts bad. I'm like, well, I can't help you.
You got a game today, dog.
You got a game, buddy. Come on. What are we doing?
It's game day.
Game day.
So what
Come
do
on.
we do?
Let's go.
We go out the night before. Yeah, that's how it ends poorly, kids.
That ends poorly.
Yep.
Not me.
Maybe a little bit on Sunday, but that's all right. I thrived. It was good.
As I say, I was invited out by people who were crashing out all over town.
Oh,
and
baby.
I said, nope.
No. Not having it.
Business trip.
Business trip. That's it.
All right, Simone. Stay in your lane.
Simone.
Speaking of Simone.
Have you guys seen him since he's been in Baltimore?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Have you? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Him and Sasha Brown.
That's right.
That's good. We can make fun of Simone because his
0-2.
Ravens are 0-2 as we kick things off here. The Raiders get their first win of the year. They beat the Ratbirds 26-23 in Baltimore. Nate, one thought on week 2 as we get it going. Nathan.
Thank you.
Sorry. Nope, my apologies. It just kind of rolled off. It just rolled off of my tongue.
What is your dislike of Nate?
I don't have necessarily a dislike of it.
Because it's a natural.
When he's saying it, it feels like he's saying it.
I remember one of the
disrespectful
first.
way.
I think he is. But I think one of the first weeks we were doing the show,
Stop
I may have called
crashing
you
out.
Nate, and you looked at me like, "No, please don't do that."
I just
So
think
is
like
it,
I don't know.
It's just that's a short that you don't like because like Nate Dogg was a dude.
But I was Nate and Nate Dogg. Like
as a kid, you had to be Nate,
totally.
right?
But I just
Yeah.
feel like that's a kid.
You think that's a kid?
Yeah, I feel like
Okay.
Nathan. I'm a grown man.
Okay, all right. So kind of like the William Billy
debatable.
thing.
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
type of deal.
Although Billy Zane, Nate Burleson,
Yeah, there's a lot of examples. Yeah.
he's a Nathaniel though.
Would it be
Burleson.
Danny? Like, can you be in your 40s?
Danny?
Is
about a
that would
Fresco
that be
Danny?
as similar?
I think it's like a David.
Davey?
Davy Crockett.
I always liked Davy
He's
Crockett.
king of the
man.
wild frontier.
He really was.
I don't know. I just I guess like I just like as I don't know. I prefer Nathan. I think
No, it's all
Just
good.
in
I
a
just was curious if
professional
something,
setting. Yeah.
if someone called you that and you're like, no.
No,
can't.
I would
Yeah.
never. No.
Yeah, yeah,
I just
yeah.
when he's calling me, he's doing
No.
it
When you were
as a
young,
sign of-
if somebody called
no,
you that and you were
Nate
like
Dogg,
annoyed
come
by it.
on, Nate Dogg and
Yeah, you
Warren
had to
G
be
had
Nate
to
Dogg.
regulate. Of course,
Of course, he had to
Nate Dogg.
regulate.
Mount up.
Damn good too.
Yeah,
Can't be any
exactly.
geek off the street.
You know what I
Be
mean?
handed with the steel. You know what I mean? Earn your keep.
Earn your keep.
Young Guns, fantastic. What are we doing? Baltimore.
You're
Go
throwing
ahead.
some knowledge today.
Yeah.
The Ute.
Got a lot going for the kids.
This Vegas team can throw the football, and that is fun to watch. Gardner Minshew, 30 of 38. I knew he was going to be good there. He's good enough to be fun and bad enough to not really get you where you need to be.
That's
but
it.
He's not bad. Devontae Adams and Bowers, 18 catches, 208 yards, and a touchdown. Bowers has been great, their first-round pick. This is just a massively disappointing loss for the Baltimore Ravens, who are up 10 in the fourth quarter at home. This is a
I would tell
massively
you this.
disappointing loss. For
We
them.
were among the few, and speaking of Nate Davis, who's a buddy of mine that works for USA Today, is among the few, along with us, who spotted this Ravens problem much more than others. We talked about this over and over again about losing somebody big at each level that they did, losing their entire defensive staff. That stuff stacks, and that's what you're seeing in Baltimore.
And the Derrick Henry doesn't change who they are.
He doesn't change who they are
at all.
At all. So I think their plan was that they were going to bludgeon with Derrick Henry in November and December. You got to get there
gotta
first.
get there.
And they didn't do enough to improve that team. And so they kind of reap what they sow a little bit here.
That loss of Patrick Queen. That might be the biggest
Queen,
one.
McDonald, Weaver, Stone,
Geno Stone on the back end.
Clowney.
Yeah. No, they've lost a lot of guys. Yeah,
and he had 9.5 sacks last year.
Yeah.
Up next, guys.
He definitely took the paycheck
in the
to go to
AFC,
Carolina.
we stay
Don't
in
blame
the
him.
AFC. The New York Football Jets notched their first win of the year. I had to come back to do it. Luckily, the Titans have Will Levis at quarterback, so you're good for that screw-up. And the Jets down the Titans 24-17. Bo Bishop, one thought.
I'll do the Titans side of this. Do you think Will Levis in the first 2 weeks made two of the most boneheaded quarterback plays we've ever seen? I mean, truly. At the NFL level, to think that you can get away with that stuff. If you are Tennessee, do you think that that is salvageable? Do you think he is salvageable based on those plays? Because it is who he was. Remember, at Penn State, they would not play him over Trace McSorley because McSorley was more accurate and more trustworthy. He had to go to Kentucky. He played pretty well there, but he had some boneheaded plays at Kentucky too, which led him dropping to the second round. He can throw the ball far.
He's got and he looks like a quarterback.
He looks the part, but mentally, it might not be there.
Oh, it absolutely might not be there. But they just got rid of Malik Willis, so who are they going to play?
Well, I'm saying, is this kind of this is going to be a good quarterback draft?
No, they're not going to bring back Tannehill.
Is this a team
I think you
that
let him play
let
out.
him struggle? Just take the L's, stack the L's.
I mean, Callahan has no time for his shenanigans.
Oh, you don't say.
No time.
You don't say.
He gave him Callahan was crashing out. What the
He
F
was
are you
crashing
doing? He was
out.
crashing out. Profanity.
He was.
On the other side, the Jets have just been very unimpressive to me. Garrett Wilson, his numbers are very mid. I'll tell you what. I thought last week one of the most kind of under the radar, I guess it wasn't that because it made its way to me and I wasn't watching every Minnesota availability. But when they said, did you watch how the Niners defended Garrett Wilson, and do you think that gives some tells how they're going to try to defend you? And did you see what Justin Jefferson said?
I did not.
He said, no disrespect, I'm not Garrett Wilson. And then went and had a 97-yard touchdown
He did.
in that game.
He sure did. Yes,
Are
he
we
did.
switching to that game?
No.
No. It was just about Garrett Wilson. But he's been mid, and I'm upset about Rodgers might be cooked. He's checked down Charlie right now. He might be cooked. It's crazy.
Yep.
All right. You want Justin Jefferson. You got Justin Jefferson. Compliments of K-Fan. Here's Paul Allen.
2nd and 9 for the Vikings from their own 3. Darnold under center. Play action to Jones. Back to pass. Bosa picked up. Deep shot. Jefferson. Yes! Caught at the 50. Heads left to the 40. Cuts back to the 25. Heads to the right. He's trying to outrun the Niners. To the 5. Touchdown! A 97-yard touchdown!
He's so great.
So great.
The number of people that are yelling in that booth is spectacular. The Vikings, 23. 49ers, 17. Debo's down now. Oh, boy. Nathaniel, what say you?
Yeah, this was a bad loss for them. They really should have won the game. I mean, you look at the fact that Purdy threw for 319 yards, averaged 9 yards an attempt. Obviously, Darnold averaged 10 yards attempt, but 97 of them came on one attempt.
Play, yeah.
But that's how those things work. What they're missing right now, Mason is a great runner, and he's going to give them what McCaffrey gave them as a runner, but he is not a factor in the passing game, or at least has not been thus far. And so I think that is hurting their team. Ayuk's been slow to go. They're going to need him to step up in a big, big way now with Debo down. The line, though, is a problem. 6 sacks they gave up outside of Trent Williams. The line is not very good. And just an incredible win for Sam Darnold, whose career seems to be, resurrecting, and you got to hand it to him. Very impressive.
I'll take the Minnesota side of this. I just think there are some people in the league who are just really good coaches. And I think LaFleur's a really good coach. I think Kevin O'Connell's a really good coach.
Yep.
And I think they just get guys ready. And they speak well to quarterbacks. They put them in positions to succeed. You're right, 97 of the 268 on one throw to Jefferson. Other than that, pretty middling performance from Darnold. But that's really all they needed in this thing. And as long as he takes care of the ball and gets it to Jefferson a couple of times a game, it's going to be enough because they got a pretty good defense. They got a good offensive line. Everything else is kind of in place for them. I think one thing that's going to be fascinating for Minnesota is what do they do with, if Darnold has a great year, what do you do with J.J. McCarthy? I mean, it gives you power because you have assets, but
You're fine because you're going to play J.J. McCarthy. You believe in him.
But then you trade Darnold if he has a good year.
Right. Yep. I don't know if
there's places
is he on more than a 1-year contract?
I don't know.
Let me look that up right now.
Good question.
My guess is no.
I like Kevin O'Connell. I like his demeanor here.
He signed a 1-year, $10 million deal, so he's a free agent.
Yeah, so he'll walk. So he's playing for some money
himself.
here. Yeah,
he's playing to try to do what Baker's done.
Yes,
and to find.
And I think there's a path for that.
Absolutely.
For guys, like you don't have to bail on him. Like Darnold's still young.
There is going to be a group of quarterbacks in what I'll call that Baker zone. So you've got now $60 million, you're my 100% no doubt franchise guys.
Yeah.
There's going to be a $30 million quarterback, which is what Bake is, right? 3 for 100.
Yep.
I think 30 to 40-ish million where we can go to the playoffs and be competent and serve our fan base well. Maybe if everything goes right, we have a chance to make a run, but probably not. But we're a better organization. It's kind of like the Andy Dalton situation with the Bengals, right? We can win, and we can win our division. We can go to the playoffs every year. Are we really a threat to win the Super Bowl? No, but at least we're in the dance every year, and you never know, right? You can't win the Super Bowl without getting to the playoffs.
No.
Up next, a workmanlike effort, and the Los Angeles Chargers are 2-0 on the football season. They've really had two. Well, I can't call the Raiders cupcakes anymore, but
no,
they manhandled
the
them.
Carolina Panthers certainly are. 26-3, the Chargers beat the Panthers. Bo Bishop, one thought.
Jim Harbaugh can coach.
Yes.
And he can motivate, and he gets you to play your way, and they strangle out games. Herbert's had to do nothing. I'm most happy for J.K. Dobbins, though, to have this start to a career. He put the image up of him in a Chargers jersey when he was a kid, like a LaDainian jersey. Like, that's awesome. And he's had nothing but bad luck, and you knew the talent was there, so I'm mostly happy for him.
Hey, you say you've had a lot of bad luck? Stop doing somersaults into the end zone.
I know.
Listen, dummy.
I know.
44 carries for 219 yards, 5 yards a carry, and the touchdown you mentioned from Dobbins from 43.
Like, just imagine if he was still on Baltimore instead of Derrick Henry. He just couldn't
he
get healthy there.
And by the way, he's made through 2 weeks. Let's
2
see
weeks.
if he can play 17 games. That would certainly be noteworthy. The other thing in this game, to me, from a Charge perspective, and then I'll touch on Carolina really quickly. Quentin Johnson is the guy that you want in this offense right now. He's their first-round pick last year from TCU. Herbert and he are developing nice chemistry. 5 catch, 51 yards, 2 touchdowns on 6 targets. So they're going to have to throw more than this. They're not going to run it twice for every time they pass it in the future. But he's somebody that certainly I would look at grabbing. And on the other side, 26 attempts for 84 yards. Bryce Young, he got benched. Thielen, you saw start to get frustrated. I think they were in danger of completely losing this locker room, and they had to make this switch, and they did. And it is a catastrophic failure in every way.
If I were an NFL team and I really liked him in the process, I would make a call.
If I'm the Miami Dolphins.
I'd try to get him for a bucket of balls.
Don't you think he can run the Miami offense?
Yeah, for sure.
Anticipation, doesn't have the strongest arm. I'd put him in that Miami offense.
And I'm going to stop the revisionist history, too, because we're at the Combine every year. There wasn't anybody over there who thought C.J. more than Bryce Young.
No, remember,
nobody.
C.J. was getting
they
the
were
backlash.
Emphatically
yes.
Bryce. Like it was Bryce and then a drop.
Well, it was C.J. was getting the backlash of the
Fields
and Haskins struggles. He's playing with the best receiving core in college football, all of it. And so, he's been great, but anybody who thinks, and somebody pulled up old Jay Glazer scoopage, that 100% the Texans were taking him. So wonderful luck that it's worked, but there was nobody out there that was at the top of this draft that thought. And by the way, they said, well, Chicago could have just taken C.J. Stroud in this draft. Chicago stayed at 1. They would have taken.
They would have taken Bryce Young.
Everybody would have taken Bryce.
Yes.
Young.
In fact, I think the only person that I could say seems like he really wanted C.J. Stroud was Josh McCown. Josh McCown wanted C.J. Stroud.
There was a love fest there at
There's
the
no
Pro
question
Day.
that he wanted C.J. Stroud.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah.
All right, gents. Got to speed it up a little bit, and we'll go a little rapid fire.
Let's carry it into hour number 2.
Yeah, we'll go till 2 o'clock. Nathan, Seahawks 23, Patriots 20, overtime. Seahawks one of 9 teams that are unbeaten through the first 2 games.
I'm going to give I'm going to give Gerard Mayo some credit. He's got this team playing better than I would have expected. Ramondre Stevenson has been kind of just their do-it-all guy. Hunter Henry had 100 yards in this one, so much more impressive by them. But I really like this Seattle passing attack now that they're letting Jackson. This to me was the passing of the torch game that we were expecting all along. 16 targets, 12 catches, 117 yards. It's time. You gotta let him go. This should be a DK Metcalf JSN show. Lockett has had a great career. He's aging. That's fine. He's your pretty good third. But I thought that was a big kind of development for them in this game.
See, from the Seattle side, good job out of you. New coach, new regime, 2-0 start. That one was ripe for the taking for New England.
Missed that guy.
Yeah, they were. That was ripe for the taking for New England to fly across the country to play at 1:00, and they went out there and gutted it out and won. Good job out of them.
Up next, probably one of the biggest surprises of the day. The Saints are now 2-0, and the NFC South looks pretty good here after 2 weeks. Saints 44, Dallas 19. Bo Bishop, one thought from you.
Well, it's not that they're 2-0. It's that they're 2-0 in the manner that they're 2-0 that is stunning about New Orleans. I think this is the biggest. Nobody had it anywhere. No. There wasn't a single person prognosticating the NFL that thought New Orleans would start the year this way. Nobody. In fact, a lot of people picked them to lose to Carolina, including me in week 1. So they have defied all sorts of logic. I'll be honest with you, I haven't watched close enough to know exactly how they're able to do it, but you score on every possession, that helps.
I mean, there's been 2 blowouts. They put up 35 in the first half against Dallas. Rashid Shaheed's got a long touchdown every week this season. Kamara had 4 scores in this one. Yeah, they're operating at a very, very high level. Cowboys, they are one-dimensional, and I really think that if you are able to, for example, I think if the Browns played the Cowboys in a couple of weeks, I think the Browns would beat the Dallas Cowboys right now, but you didn't. You played week 1 and you got smoked, and it was an awful performance in many regards. We know that, but you bounced back from it. It was good. They can't run the football. Zeke is washed.
Yep.
They're one-dimensional team right now. And again, I go back to this was more what I expect. I think week 1 was more of an indictment of our performance than it was a coronation of them. I remember getting ready for that game and just thinking they've let so much go out the door without bringing very much back in that this is not a great roster. And it's not a great football team. And so I think that kind of showed a little bit more here than it did certainly in week 1 against us. But I think that said more about what we produced on the field in that game than it did about what they produced on the field in that game.
So Shaheed, this comes from the G-Man himself. 11 touchdowns in his career. Average distance on those touchdowns?
42 yards.
51.6.
That was close. I knew it was a lot.
Bobs.
Yeah, that's what he
does. Good job by you, Gabe. Up next, Commies, 21. Austin Seibert, 7 field goals.
Austin Seibert, former Brown.
Yep. They beat the New York Football Giants 21-18.
Was he the kid from Oklahoma?
Yeah.
I remember him.
He was with us. He was with the Bengals. Was at Detroit, I think, and now maybe has found a home. 7 for 7. By the way, this game would have had the second kick return touchdown this year, but a kind of a lame holding call erased an Austin Eckler touchdown. This is the first time in, I think, 1,132 games in the NFL where one team scored 3 touchdowns more than their opponent, and they lost in a game where the other team didn't score any touchdowns.
Oh. Yeah.
This was very much an odds defying. They scored 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And
Giants,
only 18 points.
Strange.
Yes.
Very strange. Jaden Daniels has been the best of the rookie quarterbacks so far. It's really early.
Remember,
he's been the best.
They got hurt. Their kicker got hurt, Gano.
Oh, that's right before.
So the Hammer tried 1 extra point, missed it, so then they had to go for 2 twice and didn't get any of it.
Oh, we'll see the Hammer this week.
Yeah, we can see the Hammer. That's a
there
treat.
You go.
That is a treat.
Take him to the coach's show shoot, and he'll never be the same by Sunday.
By the way, did you see Malik
or
Neighbors?
Just go out Saturday night.
Malik Neighbors getting Dable coming over and asking him what plays he wants to run. He's somebody who has high crash out potential, and I think
Malik Neighbors,
yes, and they are trying to manage that.
I think you're right. Crash out's nice, isn't it? It's kind of nice.
It's fun. By the way, Danny Dimes, who you would, if I said to you, here's a quarterback in week 2 who went 16 of 28 for 178 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, rating of 100, ran for another 32 yards, you'd be like, oh, it's a solid performance.
Yeah.
people talk about him like he's Bryce Young.
Trash. Yeah, I know it.
Kurt Warner praised him the other night on the Westwood One broadcast on Sunday Night Football.
Daniels is good. They have got to become a better red zone team because they can throw it. He was 23 of 29. They can run it. Robinson ran for over 100. He had 40 this week. I think he had 70 last week. The thing that's crazy to me is I don't know what has happened with Terry McLaurin. 8 targets, 6 catches. Do you know how many yards he got with his 6 catches, Bo Bishop?
Less than 40?
22.
Oh, jeez.
Gross. 6
catches for 22. That's 3.7. That's like a running back who had a bad day.
Up next, Tampa Bay goes to 2-0 on the year. They go to Detroit City and take down the Lions 20-16. Bo, one thought.
Tampa Bay, I'm happy for Bake that he found a home. He wasn't great in this one, lost a couple fumbles, threw a pick, but he made a couple of timely throws, including a big one down the sideline to Godwin that was really, really nice. Tampa Bay is going to be around a little bit, and I think that the Lions lost their way. They moved the ball up and down the field, way more plays as we illustrated earlier, but just sometimes it's just easy to just run it in, and they got a little too cutesy, I think, with the play calling.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that coaching again playing this?
Well, he mismanaged the clock, too.
He did, badly.
Campbell did.
When they
at
screw
the end of the
up,
first
it
half,
tends to come from
been a
that
field
direction.
goal.
Should have been a field goal.
And then they would have just needed a field goal at the end, and they win the game.
Yeah.
They 26 first downs to 14, 463 yards to 216 in this game, but they were 1 of 7 in the red zone, and so they're going to need to really evaluate that. This was a worse loss by the Lions than it was a better win by the Buccaneers.
I like that. By the way, you listen to 850 ESPN Cleveland, WKNR, Good Karma brand station.
Up next, Packers 16, Colts 10. Defying logic. Yellowstone drops another one. The big news after the game, Matt LaFleur talking about Vomit Ball 2024.
So this is the big play on – oh, do you have it? Go ahead.
I've got the cut.
I asked Malik why he didn't throw the ball on that 3rd down, and he told me that Josh threw up on the ball. I was like, that's the first time I've ever heard that. Matter of fact, the official came over to me, Sean came over to me and said, we saw your center thrown up on the ball. Do you want us to take him out next time? I said, absolutely. Please do that. Because, you're talking about a critical situation, and it's 3rd down, and I've never had a throw with vomit on a football. So I don't know. I don't think Malik probably didn't appreciate that.
That's great.
Peter LaFleur, my coach of the year thing is looking pretty good. He took a guy who came into this game completing 35 of 66 passes, which is just right over 50%. He went 12 of 15 for 12 of 14, for 122 yards. 12 of 14 for 122 yards. Incredibly impressive coaching job there.
LaFleur is elite as a coach. You would be hard – I don't know that anyone would argue with you that their backup situation was maybe among the worst in the league, certainly bottom third of the league with Malik Willis.
Yep.
And to get that out of him, just coaching sometimes matters, man.
Oh, yes.
On the other side of it, Anthony Richardson is a fun watch, but he is scattershot, man.
3 picks.
He is wildly inaccurate. Wildly. It comes out.
Michael Pittman would trade for Gardner Minshew in
a
heartbeat.
Right now. Yes.
In a heartbeat. Josh Jacobs, by the way, kind of a very under-the-radar free agent signing by the Packers.
They rode him.
32, 151 yards in this one.
Yep.
Cardinals 41, Los Angeles Rams 10. Bishop, one thought.
This is my biggest miss of the week. I want to, and really the Rams in general, they're so broken, so beat up. Now Cup out, all their lines out. No Nakua. I mean, they're washed.
No
Cup
Cup.
at this point.
No Nakua.
I know. I said
that.
Yeah. It's done.
It's toast. Yes.
Cooked. So they're cooked. But I want to give Drew Petzig some flowers. Drew was here a lot. He'd come in studio with us a lot.
Yep.
And he worked his way up. He's talking about a tight ends coach to his quarterback coach, and he grinded and got there and lands in Arizona.
He used to be an intern for Simone.
Right. And he would come in here with us. We had him on all the time.
He's
probably, from the coaching staff, one of our more regular guests. And he would come in all the time. We talk ball. Loved talking to him about it. And he's got Kyler playing really confidently and playing to his strengths. Marv had 140 yards and 2 touchdowns after the first quarter in this game, and then they just stopped. because it was done.
He did something that I think it's only him and Ken Anderson, former Bengals quarterback.
Yeah. A lot of people say should be a Hall of Famer.
That to throw for 250 yards, run for 50 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a perfect quarterback rating in a game. So Kyler's jersey's headed to Canton. By the way, welcome to the party, Marvin Harrison Jr., 4 for 130 and 2. In fact, he joins his dad, I think, is the only 2 guys to have something like 130 and 2 touchdowns in the first half on 3 catches or less.
He had it in a quarter.
Yeah, in the first quarter. That's what it is.
He had it in a quarter.
In a quarter. Trey McBride, 6 for 67, but fantasy owners, he gave you a nice little surprise for those of you who did not watch the game. They fumbled going into the end zone, and McBride fell on the ball, and so that's a nice little touchdown.
You'll take it.
You'll take it.
You'll take it.
Little Huddy. Next, we go to Kansas City. Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs, on the Wolf.
Placement is down. Butker's kick. Leg through. It is high enough, and it is good! Kansas City! Harrison Butker, another clutch kick against the Bengals. And the Chiefs win it at the buzzer. 26-25. And the Chiefs go to 2-0 on the year.
It was the Chiefs 26, Bengals 25, as you heard there. Nathan, one thought.
So, Rashee Rice, he's the clear number 1 receiver on that team. The loss of Isaiah Pacheco, I think, is going to be a big one for them. Carson Steele had a fumble in this game, and I was amazed. They actually went back to him late in the game. But something to keep an eye on there. And I heard Kareem Hunt is getting a visit. I talked earlier yesterday when we talked about this game how they were just totally content to sit there and say, we're going to kick a 51-yarder. This is from Pro Football Talk. Justin Tucker, and we were wondering in the booth, is he washed? Struggled last year. He's 0 for 2 on 50-yard field goals. The rest of the NFL, they've kicked 37 from the 50. Any guesses on how many have been made?
33.
35.
The NFL, outside of Justin, is 35 of 37 on
crazy.
kicks of 50 yards or more.
It's just a layup now.
It was
just a
never
different sport.
How?
I just specialization training, like.
But
you
they've
just,
been doing that for.
I just think different. Like
in 5 years, it's radically different.
But I also wonder how many of these guys are, we're more open minded with it. It's something where you pick them up earlier. Do you have a soccer background, and it's something where you're just used to it?
I
don't know what it is, but I think it's specialization, and I think it's just turning the sport, like the science of it.
Let's take our guy, for example, right? Dustin Hopkins.
Yeah.
Dustin Hopkins is now 10 for 10 kicking 50-yard field goals for the Cleveland Browns.
Yep.
Prior to joining the Cleveland Browns, he was 15 of 30.
Right.
So
I don't know.
Something has changed in the way that people are able to do these things in the National Football. It's 35 of 37. That's what you would be from like inside of 40 yards.
Yeah.
Inside of 40 yards,
Right.
be a 95, 92, 93% kicker. That to me is the craziest thing ever.
I've been talking to you about the discontent down in Cincinnati.
Joe Burrow after the game did not look pleased.
That's as
I think
pissed
it's
off.
His whole situation.
It's as pissed off as I've seen him since the Super Bowl loss. Jamar Chase feels like he was lied to. Higgins hasn't played. Like, not great down there. Zach's trying to cover it. Like, he even had a comment about, like, Jamar was dominant in the game. And I'm like,
no.
What are you talking about? No, he was not. But, like, he's not pleased. So, like, it's a mess.
Cam Taylor-Britt did have one of the most impressive interceptions you'll ever see.
And he also did it after calling out Xavier Worthy.
And in coverage of Xavier Worthy.
He did it well.
Yeah, that was good.
All right, we got to get to break here, but real quick, Steelers 13, Broncos 9, Pittsburgh is 2-0, and I'm disgusted by
They did the same thing. They've done the same thing LaFleur's doing in Green Bay with Willis.
Yeah.
I mean, they just basically tell Justin, don't throw it over the middle. Throw it to the sides, throw it in scramble plays, busted plays, and then defensively they're great. And they're 2-0. So it's what they do. It's great coaching, all of those things.
Final one. Oh, are you?
No.
You going to have something?
No, they're just they have gotten lucky that they've played quarterbacks who have been horrific. They have one offensive touchdown in 2 games.
Yep.
They
should have had a second. There was one that Pickens should have had that was.
They're going to run into, though, as we talk, their schedule is going to become
2 worst teams in the league: Carolina, Denver.
Yeah.
And in no particular order.
Carolina's
I think they're in danger of ruining Bo Nix.
I don't know if there's much to ruin. He's like 25, 26 years old.
They're so excited about him.
Yeah, but how much of that?
Jimmy Bang Bang knew it.
Yeah.
Sunday Night Foosball, Texans 19, Bears 13, Nate.
C.J. Stroud is fun to watch. Nico Collins is very fun to watch. But there's something, you want to become an excellent team, you need to put teams away. And this game should have been put away. The Indianapolis game should have been put away. And they are, thus far, they are not doing that.
No, they're not burying people. They're winning despite that, which a little bit of a Kansas City vibe with them. I'm also think you ought to be a little bit concerned with the start with Caleb Williams, not just the results, but just offensively, there's not a whole lot of imagination. He's running for his life a lot. There's nothing easy.
He was sacked 7 times.
Yeah.
Seven times. He's taking a beating.
Yeah.
His O-line's giving him no help. What's starting to happen, though, is DJ Moore starting to get very frustrated.
Yeah.
And that's not a good thing.
That ain't it. That ain't it, buddy. All right, coming up next, after further review, you'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet, sports betting partner, your Cleveland Browns, now live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Your Uncle Bo here for my friends at the James B. Beam Distilling Company. Booker No's vision for Knob Creek was to be the embodiment of full-flavored American whiskey through age-proof and flavor. You create that product that sets the standard with Knob Creek. They have a champion to those who stay true to their craft, know what they like, and don't feel the pressure to conform. This fall, don't forget to take advantage of the Knob Creek Steak Rebate. You buy Knob Creek bourbon plus a steak. You just upload a picture of a receipt to knobcreeksteakrebate.com. They're going to send you $20 right to your Venmo account. Must be 21 to participate. See the full terms at knobcreeksteakrebate.com. That's Knob Creek Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, 50% alcohol by volume. 2024 James B. Beam Distilling Company, Claremont, Kentucky. Knob Creek, drink what tastes right. Time for Dr. Z and After Further Review.
After further review.
All right, we're going to start on the offense. We're going to do 3 on the offense, 3 on the defense, and then 1 on special teams. And we're going to start on the offense, and the first thing after further review is, after going back and watching tape, is the Browns, I think, may have done it again in getting Jerry Jeudy. I like Jerry Jeudy a lot. He's our leading receiver right now so far this season. But that doesn't tell the whole story. Jerry Jeudy's ability to create separation when you actually get to go back and watch route after route after route, even the ones where he doesn't get the ball, right now is elite. And he is playing like a number 1 receiver. And I think the Browns, as this chemistry continues to improve with Deshaun Watson, you're going to see even more and more of that from Jerry Jeudy. I thought he had a great game in week 2, and I'm looking for more of that. I think that it is... We are very lucky that right now with Amari in a little bit of a slump, and he's going to break out of it. He's still running beautiful routes. That Jerry Jeudy has been a huge, huge addition for this Cleveland Browns team.
Next!
After further review.
Kevin Stefanski, we know, told the team that they were going to run the Jerome Ford play on a 4th and short, and not only that they were going to run it, but that it was going to work.
Yep.
There are few times in this league where you will see a coach who won a play before it was even snapped. And that is exactly what Kevin Stefanski did in this play. For those who are able to go back and watch it on tape, what you will see, and I'm going to try to see if I will describe it to you, is that from the formation, remember the Browns, the first time they had run the sneak, right? So you're thinking, okay, they're thinking it's probably going to be Jameis, another sneak again. Well, they were obviously very, very wrong. Situation was 4th and 1. By the way, the ball was on the Browns' 37-yard line. Browns own 37 on a 4th down. What they set up with was a tight formation. They figured they were getting man. They got man. They ran Jordan Akins from the left side of the formation to the right side of the formation. When they did that, when they ran him from the left side of the formation to the right side of the formation, Bo, just look at this picture. What do you see here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Jags
10
are from Joel Bitonio to the right.
Yep.
Outflanking them, and the only one that's not on the screen is a corner who's man-to-man right there on Cedric Tillman. Outflanking them immediately before the ball is snapped. You've got James Hudson. You've got Nick Harris. And so when this play is run, immediately, they thought it was a sneak to the right. You have basically a complete wall sealed off, and there are no Jags.
Nobody
and there
there.
goes Jerome Ford running for daylight. That is an incredible job of scheme. It's an incredible job of deception as well. Jerome Ford, by the way, hit over 21 miles per hour on that run, which was the fastest of any running back in the league last week. And he said he wishes he was faster. I don't know how much faster he was going to be. But an incredible job of scheme, play calling, and as I said, stones to call that on your own 37 in a tight game. So that was a huge play. And I think it goes to the Browns were able to impose a little will physically because of what Deontay Foreman really brought to the team in this game.
Next!
After further review.
Deshaun Watson should have had significantly better stats than he had in this game, but did so many things that were good in structure and showed some of that magic, that Houdini-ness that made him so special in Houston. Are there ways to go in these games? Yes. Can we become a team that throws for 250 yards every week? Absolutely, with this talent and getting David Njoku back. But I thought Deshaun Watson had one of his best games that necessarily didn't show up in the stat sheet the way that, say, Tennessee did or the way, say, the second half against Baltimore did. But this was a very well quarterback game, and this Browns team right now leads the NFL in 2 categories. Penalties. Overall penalties by 5, offensive penalties by a mile, and dropped passes. You want your quarterback to be putting up big numbers and you want this to be lighting up the scoreboard. The self-inflicted wounds have got to stop. You cannot be – and last year we were the second most penalized team in the league. We didn't reach the number of penalties that we have right now, 24, until the fourth quarter of the 4th game.
Yeah.
And we've done it through 2. We have to get better at that. We have got to clean that up. But if you do – I think all of a sudden we're going to be a team that can really score the football, and Deshaun's going to be putting up some very, very good numbers.
Next.
After further review.
All right, we're changing it over to the defensive side of the football in this one. And the first one I'm going to give to our 3 what I call box players. Just a phenomenal game by the 3 guys who played down near the line of scrimmage most often for the Cleveland Browns at the second level. And those are your 2 linebackers, Jordan Hicks and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and that is also Grant Delpit. Here are the stats. JOK, 7 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss. Delpit, 6 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss. Those are in run plays. Jordan Hicks, 3 tackles, a sack on a blitz, a tackle for a loss, 2 passes defense, 2 quarterback hits, which actually led the team in this game. Those 3 at the second level, and it kind of talks a little bit about what the NFL used to be versus what it is now. The Browns now at the second level, when they go single high, middle of the field close, have Grant Delpit and JOK along with Hicks, who's not a big linebacker himself. No. You have 3 guys who can run, 3 guys who can knife in, 3 guys who are good tacklers and can make plays in the backfield, and that's why the Browns did a good job ultimately against the ground game of the Jacksonville Jags in this one. They limited them to just 78 yards rushing, and now a couple of those they had some chunk plays. I'm talking about just the running backs. But take the 20-yard away from ETN, and I know you can't. You allowed one big play there, but it was 12 for 30. 12 for 32, under 3 yards a carry. They did a very, very good job in this game, and I thought that was very important to how the Browns were able to get this win.
Next!
After further review.
So we went into this one, and we didn't really have a clear picture of what the rotation was going to be. But for a guy who only played 11 snaps in this game defensively, which is unfortunate, Denzel Ward made a very big impact on the field. He was phenomenal in those snaps. The guy that you have to give a little bit of credit to, though, who I thought really stepped up with him off the field, ended up playing 51 snaps, was Cam Mitchell. Cam Mitchell has been very, very good for the Cleveland Browns in situations in which he's been called upon. For a second year, fifth round pick, that is really an important thing. To see him come in and be able to make the kinds of plays that he has in important moments, whether it be in coverage, whether it be in run support, is a big deal for this Cleveland Browns football team. And you've got to be very impressed with what he has brought to this team, because you were counting on having Denzel out there the whole time against a very good passing attack, but you didn't. And I thought that Cam Mitchell really stepped up. And again, we don't win this one without Cam Mitchell.
Next!
After further review.
Great job by Jim Schwartz in varying our fronts and our pass rushes and our blitz, and that's why you had Miles got a sack, Quentin Jefferson got a sack, Alex Wright beat a double team with the most unbelievable spin move you'll ever see. We talked to him, or swim move, I'm sorry. We talked to him about that yesterday. He had a sack, as did Jordan Hicks. I really liked what they did there. But you cannot play good defense on the road without your back end playing well, and I already talked about Cam Mitchell stepping in. You got to tip your cap to Ronnie Hickman. The last time we saw Ronnie Hickman play meaningful snaps was against Houston in the playoffs. It was not his best game. Then we see him in the playoffs lined up in the slot against Dontavian Wicks, and he gives him a 65-yard touchdown, hurts his back. We don't really see him again. He came in, 42 snaps, played very, very well in coverage, did not give up a reception in coverage, manned the middle of the field well, took away some of the deep looks that, Trevor Lawrence was hoping to hit, and so Ronnie Hickman, absolutely great job in this game.
And finally, next.
After further review.
I am upset with myself that on the broadcast, and they didn't show a replay of it for whatever reason. I wish they did. For incorrectly assigning the giant hit. I thought it was Sam Kamara based on the way that he celebrated, and he was right there. Now, Sam Kamara was right. He was play adjacent.
Yeah.
But the actual leveler of the boom who crashed out Tank Bigsby was none other than Winston Reed, who was elevated from the practice squad last week out of Weber State, spent many years in college. They call him kind of like their Matt Adams, and he was the one who had that huge hit there on that play. He had a 91 at Pro Football Focus, a 91 special teams grade, which was, that's got to be, if not the best, one of the top in the NFL last week. Also, Kaliki Hudson, a little side shout out that we just signed off of New Orleans practice squad, was great in special teams as well. But Winston Reed, you want to come in and make an impact, he did that. And for people wondering, the rule with the kicker, he can't cross the 50 until the ball is caught or it touches the ground. Yeah. And so we got to just slow our roll a little bit there. Just slow our roll a little bit.
Good job out of you. And that was after further review. We'll go around the league. Coming up next, you'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Part of one of the most passionate fan bases in the National Football League. Join Next Gen STM, presented by Ticketmaster. The official waitlist of your Cleveland Browns. Being a Next Gen STM is the best chance you have to become a season fit ticket member in future seasons. Visit clevelandbrowns.com/nextgen to reserve your spot today. Time to go around the league, presented by Leaf Filter, official gutter guard of your Cleveland Browns. Hello, Gibby.
Well, college football 4 downs time
Let's do
with
it.
Uncle Bo on
Let's
a
do
Tuesday.
it.
We're,
Let's do
we're
it.
trying to get this
First
going
down.
here. First down.
Can I give my completely uneducated
Yes.
answers and see
Yes.
where they go?
Absolutely.
So I'll go first.
You go first.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
Say Arch Manning has to start the next 2 weeks. He came in, lit the world on fire against the Little Sisters of the Poor on Saturday night.
Texas, San Antonio.
He beats Mississippi State and Oklahoma. What do you do if you're Texas on 10-19 when Texas hosts Georgia? Zagura.
Quinn Ewers is your quarterback. That's it. Period.
So a little bit of nuance to this. He actually gets Louisiana Monroe, then Mississippi State, then bye, and then Oklahoma. That's the next 4 weeks.
Did I miss that?
Yeah, so it's UL Monroe, then it's Mississippi State, then it's Oklahoma. But there's a bye before the OU game on the 12th. Then they play Georgia on the 19th. So they go Red River Shootout, then Georgia. Arch Manning was sensational. He was 12 of 14 in the game. He had 4 touchdowns.
Of course
he had a
he's
67-yard
Arch Manning.
Run. It is incomprehensible to me that they have 2 first-round pick quarterback talents, and I think you can make that delineation on Arch. Knowing what we know about his pedigree, knowing what he was as a recruit, the fact that he's completely fine just sitting for 2 years.
It's craziness.
When he could be starting, he could have been the starting quarterback at Alabama last year.
He could have been the starting Ohio State.
Anywhere.
What if he came to Ohio State this year? What if it's Arch Manning and the Buckeyes?
Yes, could have. So the whole thing's crazy. Here's the real problem, though. If he plays, and Quinn is a pro, they're both first-round guys, but it's an oblique injury, and so what does that mean?
Correct.
How long could he be out? Here's the beautiful thing. Because of a 12-team playoff, they could lose to Oklahoma or Georgia and still be fine. They're going to be fine. If Texas goes 10-2, they're making the playoff. So there isn't the pressure to insert him back. I actually think the quicker they can get Ewers back, the better. Then it's not an infighting situation. Because my guess is there's plenty of people who really like Manning and like the way he distributes the ball around. So it's a good problem to have. First world problems, but it could be a problem for them.
Next.
Do you think it's actually they would consider benching Ewers?
I don't think it's necessarily benching Ewers. I just think there's not an example of this, of like 2 first-round picks at quarterback on the same college team. It doesn't happen anymore. Guys bolt. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. The most close example we can think of this is Baker and Kyler. Kyler sat for a couple years waiting for Baker at Oklahoma, but nobody thought Kyler was going to be what Kyler became.
Nobody thought Baker was going to be the number 1 pick.
Not he'd be the number 1 pick, but he was one of the more decorated college quarterbacks ever.
Sure.
So, like, Kyler waited, and that's what this is.
Yeah.
It's strange.
Okay.
Second down, Michigan has a new QB. Doesn't matter. Wolverines host USC Saturday at 3:30, Zagura.
No, it doesn't matter. Michigan put together their ultimate team last year. They won the national title. Jim Harbaugh is gone. It's not going to matter. I don't know why they never have that great quarterback, although McCarthy was good, and we'll see what he becomes in a pro, but that's kind of been one of the failures, I would say, of their recruiting situation. No, I don't believe that it does matter.
Here's why it matters a little. Alex Orji's now the quarterback at Michigan. He gives them identity. So he can't throw it.
But he's going to run.
But he can run. And so if he is a threat to run, then Donovan Edwards can run off of that. That's good enough for you to win most of your Big Ten games. It might be good enough for them to beat USC. The other way, they didn't have the threat at quarterback to run, and that kid couldn't throw it either. So at least they can do one thing.
I read it as, does it matter? Like, do they have a chance to be a program of consequence this year? My answer is no. Doesn't matter.
No. They're friskier against Ohio State, though, with them.
Which Florida team is worse? Bo, with your expertise in the Sunshine State, Florida or Florida State?
Which team is worse, or
Florida
which program
State.
is worse off?
Florida State.
Which program is worse off, or which team is worse this year?
All right, we'll start with which team is worse this year.
Florida State's worse this year.
Yes.
Florida is worse off as a program. I think you make an argument that Florida is not a great program. They just got lucky with Urban Meyer and Steve Spurrier. Because when they don't have those two guys, they aren't much. Now, the Florida job, they have a 5-star recruit who's a true freshman named DJ Legway. So whoever gets that job, if they can convince him to stay, they have a chance. Florida State did what you said Michigan did. They went all in on last year. They spent all the money on portal. They put their best team together, and then their quarterback got hurt towards the end of the season. They missed the playoff despite being undefeated and conference champions. So they went all in last year, but I think that Norvell's a good coach, and I think program-wise they'll be fine. I think Florida's blown in the wind.
Final one.
4th down.
Game of the week for week 4 in college football.
That's in. One of them's in the thing. Wolverines hosting USC.
Wolverine. Michigan against
one
USC.
of them's in there.
That's the one. Is Texas playing Mississippi State this week or no? You said they have Louisiana,
UL Monroe. The two best games are USC, Michigan, and Tennessee at Oklahoma.
Tennessee, Oklahoma.
So that's Josh Heupel going back to Norman. He won the national championship as the quarterback under Bob Stoops there. There's been not necessarily everybody rowing in the same direction between Heupel and Oklahoma. He has built a bit of a young juggernaut at Tennessee. They got the $8 million quarterback, Nico Ilamaeva, and he's been great. They got a lot of weapons around him. So the Mighty Vols going to Norman could be an interesting one. It's like 7.5-point favorites in that game for Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's down to 7.
Down to 7?
Down to 7.
That's still huge.
Yeah.
That's huge for a team going to Norman.
Yeah. Utah, Oklahoma State, maybe a distant third.
I can't worry about these leagues that aren't serious leagues. The Big 12 and the ACC.
Ohio State's a 40.5-point favorite over Marshall.
Guess where Big Noon is? Columbus.
Shut up.
Columbus.
What?
For Ohio State Marshall. So real quickly, I don't want to get up on a soapbox here because I know we're up against it, but Big Noon goes to games that are on Fox to promote those games.
Yep.
College Games Day goes to the best game of the week.
Yep.
Like Big Noon is in partnership with the Big Ten. They should be at USC, Michigan.
We can go a little longer.
That's CBS.
We can move our top 10 to tomorrow.
That's a CBS game. That is a CBS game, but they should be at USC, Michigan. That's where they should be. Game day should be at Tennessee, at Oklahoma. That's how that should work out. And instead, they're in Columbus for nonsense. It's nonsense. It's 39.5.
Texas A&M BG. A&M's only a 23-point favorite.
Honestly, the coolest thing that happened in college football last weekend was Toledo going down to Mississippi State and putting it on them.
Boat racing them.
That's Jason Candle, local guy. It's a guy who's to me, Michigan should hire him to be the head coach at Michigan if it doesn't work with Sharon Moore. I think he's that good. And I think it illustrates what happens. There's these programs that are in the Power 2. You can make a run at it, and then like if it's not lining up for a lot of them, then you kind of have to punt on a year because you can't afford to NIL these kids over and over again. So you kind of punt on a year is what ends up happening. And I think Mississippi State's an example of that. Like they looked around, Mississippi went all in this year. They're a top 6 team in the country with Lane Kiffin. They said we can't compete with that. So let's sit this year out and let's go back at it in 2 years. That's what Florida State's doing. They went all in last year, but they can't afford to do it year in and year out like Ohio State can, like Georgia can, like Texas A&M, Texas can't. So you're going to get a little bit of ebb and flow. Meantime, a place like Toledo with a great coach who's built a really stable program, has a bunch of juniors and seniors who have been around and know how to play together.
And now if you're the MAC, you've got wins over Notre Dame and Southeast Conference.
I'll tell you what, that matchup is October 19th. Northern Illinois goes to Toledo, or it might be vice versa, but they play on October 19th. And it's possible that they both would be ranked, a MAC on MAC, both ranked, because NIU is ranked.
Yep.
So if Toledo can get ranked, you could have MAC ranked versus ranked, and you'd say, well, College Game Day should be there. Well, that same week is Texas against Georgia. So they won't be, but that's a big showcase for the MAC to have if that can happen.
Game Day, first ever MAC game.
Was it at BG for Josh Harris?
BG, Northern Illinois.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember they were at Western Michigan when PJ was up there.
Under Herb.
Yeah, under Herb. Yeah. There's talk that the people at Florida trying to scratch some nickels together to bring Herb back.
Probably should try.
Band-aid it. He's not going back to that. He's not dealing with NIL.
No.
He's
living his best life right now.
Yeah, and his whole thing and Saban's whole thing was the control.
You
can't.
Dude, look at Saban.
You can't
McAfee's feeding Saban tomahawk pieces.
Yeah.
Like he's singing songs. He's singing with Darius Rucker. Come on, Saban's living his best life.
There's no question. We were watching Game Day on Saturday morning, and Darius Rucker. They're in Columbia for South Carolina against LSU, which is a really good game. Turned out being a good game. And Darius Rucker's singing Wagon Wheel, and everyone's having the time of their life. And my wife says to NBC, she's like, boy, that'd be fun to go to school down there, wouldn't it? And I said, well, yeah, all of them. And it kind of hit me that, and along with the SEC being on CBS for all those years in a national window and turning it into a national conference, College Game Day being live at SEC campuses for 30 years has created this incredible want to be a part of the flavor of all of that.
Oh, yeah.
That's real. In our little town, there's like a dozen kids last year in the senior class who ended up at Alabama and Kentucky and Georgia and South Carolina. When I was in the South, nobody wanted to go to Alabama except for people from Alabama. That's it.
Yeah.
And now it's become like this transient thing where all these kids from the North, they want to be a part of it, and it's football. It's the football that drives it. Football's the front porch of the university. I want to be a part of the winning. I want to go to the games. I want to the Greek life, all of it.
Yep.
It's a huge selling point for those universities.
Yeah.
You see it. All right, there you go.
There you go.
All right, there you go. What are we doing next?
We'll go around the NFL.
Oh, we got that
NFL news here before we.
All right, we'll go around the NFL coming up next. Listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Howard Hanna, official real estate provider of your Cleveland Browns. The exclusive buyer agent is there to help you navigate the field. Save time and money. Score that winning touchdown. A new home. Win big with the leader in real estate. Visit howardhanna.com/go Browns today for more. As we do go around the league, couple of notes. Packers become the first franchise to 800 wins with the win over Indianapolis over the weekend. Which one would you bet to be the first to 900?
Is anybody close? I would have to know how close anybody is to 800.
I'm getting it right
Yeah,
now.
we'll look
All-time
that up for
NFL wins. All right, here we go. Well, I'd rather just have had a list. Let's just get me where I need.
By the way,
I'm going to guess the Packers.
All right, so most wins. Here we go. Packers 800, Bears 793.
Packers still, and then a huge gap. So Packers is going to be the right answer. The Giants 721. So that's a so it's either
80-game lead. It's either the Bears or the Packers.
Yep, that's it.
And I would roll with the Packers all day on that. Pittsburgh is fourth, despite playing about 200 less games. They're fourth with 671. Commies 629. Eagles 624. Ramit 614. Lions 591. Think about how little success the Lions have had, and they have 591 just because they've been around forever. You're one of those teams been around forever, man. That's certainly the way that it works.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Little news out of Pittsburgh, by the way. I don't know if you guys have seen this.
I did see this.
Gibbe.
Arizona Cardinals have played the third most games in league history because they were the Chicago Cardinals to St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah.
So it's Bears, Packers, Cards, Giants, Lions have played the most games in history.
Wow.
Justin Fields running it back.
Yeah, so Mike Tomlin, we're kind of in the same posture as we were last week with Russ. As I sit here today, Russ is not scheduled to be a full participant in practice Wednesday, so we're readying a plan that features Justin and his readiness. That's a real quote. We'll follow Russ throughout the week, and if his participation gets to a level in participation and quality where we should consider him, we'll delve into that at that time. And obviously when that happens, it is a component of the consideration. Bo.
Are you sure that Russell Wilson can do what Justin Fields is doing, albeit as minimal as he's doing, better than Justin Fields?
I'm not. He certainly can't give him the running party. I'd imagine he could maybe throw the ball a little bit better.
But he's checked down Charlie.
He is. Said, as I sit here today, he's not scheduled to be a full participant in practice tomorrow. In practice, this is funny. And so we're readying ourselves around Justin. We'll stay in that mindset until something else happens. Hypotheticals is a waste of time now. I think Justin Fields has done a very, very good job. I also don't think that they necessarily, they didn't score a touchdown against the Falcons. By the way, Jesse Bates, letting him walk, the play that he made to end that game, he was playing single high safety and got all the way across the field to intercept that ball from Devontae. It was just incredible.
They let him walk for nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
They're going to do the same thing with Higgins.
Every penny.
They're going to do the same thing with Higgins. He's going to walk for nothing.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
This is going to be a good test for Fields. I mean, they've got.
Here's their next three: Chargers at home, at Colts, Cowboys at home. That's their next three.
So they should.
They need to win one of those,
and I think they will. I think they'll be 3-2.
Should beat Indy.
Yeah.
And I think they'll give the Chargers a tough game just because their defense is
stout,
very, very stiff. Yeah. All right, there you go. Our old buddy Snoop Huntley. He's with the Miami.
Yeah.
So they went that direction. You thought maybe Tannehill, but I think they like that guy.
Skylar
Thompson.
I mean,
they like him.
They must. Snoop Huntley has some very positive traits. I don't know that they necessarily sync up with what Mike McDaniel wants to do in that offense. That actually puzzled me a great deal.
Yeah. Strange.
That's about timing, rhythm, accuracy, pocket passing, more so than it is get out of jail free ability.
Agreed. They still have not.
Tannehill would be a very good
Tua either.
They should really trade for Bryce Young. That's what they should.
They should. That'd be a good play for them. All right, so much more to come. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Do yourself a personal favor. Join Z and Gerard Thursday night, 7 to 8, the second Kevin Stefanski Show Remote of the Year. It's powered by Bud Light. The guys will be live at West Park Station in Cleveland's Cam's Corners neighborhood. Stop out and meet Browns rookie guard Zach Zinter. This is the location where Bootsy cried because I had Chomps with me, right? Wasn't this it? When I was doing the show with you.
We're like in the back and we're like up on a little
perch. And I like FaceTimed with Chomps and he started Bootsy.
Bootsy couldn't handle it.
He's like 3 years ago. He loved it so much he started crying. Yeah. He had a big field day out of him today. Here, I'll give you a look at the.
How's he doing in Fortnite?
Field day? Like, is it field day reserved for the spring? Is that when they're counting down when they don't do anything for the last 3 weeks of the school?
Field day was literally the last week of school.
Yeah, we got a fall field day now.
They're getting young Bootsy active. I'm not
look at
against
him.
it.
Look at the pose in the school in the class picture.
Oh my goodness,
30.
Just that's a guy that's just got it all figured out.
He's got it sorted. He really does.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, kids.
Aura. That's what Gabe
said. He's got a lot of aura.
He's got a lot of aura. A lot of aura from the G-Man. Good job out of you, G-Man. All right, the next level's coming up next. We're back tomorrow. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.